to be on the team, cleared, in uniform, playing tonight. It's something that they need tonight. They don't need him in general. You know my feelings about the trade, but they need something right now. Somebody's got to put the ball in the bucket, and they need healthy bodies to get out there and play some ball as they're going to be shorthanded again. But Cavaliers, we'll see what happens here tonight. Having Irving back helps a lot. Kevin Love going to need to continue to do what he's done, which is what he's done. You know, again, a lot of people, too, hitting me up with this is what I told you about Kevin Love. This is what a lot of people knew. I mean, Kevin Love is great at filling up the stat sheet, but it doesn't mean a thing in winning or losing the game or making the playoffs or any of that stuff. That was always the criticism against him. He doesn't play a lick of defense. That was the other part of it. But again, you saw that the other night, 28-19. Big game for him, but it wasn't enough to beat the 76ers. So Cavaliers now 1-5 when LeBron doesn't play, a statistic that the media continually puts out there. Like that's the only thing that's wrong with this team. They do. They put that stat out there. And this has nothing to do with LeBron. It's actually to his credit. No, they're trying to credit him more than they should. Trust me, LeBron not being in those games is not the only reason that they're 1-5 in those games without him, because they're not exactly that great in most of the games with him either thus far. I'm not saying that in a backhanded way. I'm just saying it in the reality. But the media enjoys pointing out that stat to make it seem like, with LeBron, the Cavs can beat everybody. Without him, the Cavs can't beat anybody. With or without LeBron, the Cavs have a lot of work to do. Be honest about it here if we're talking about that. But hey, it would look good to take care of Houston. Houston is coming in scuffling. They've dropped 4 of their last 6 games down the stretch. They lost, what was their previous game? They lost last night? Or no, they played Monday against Chicago. Lost to the Bulls the other night. Lost 4 out of 6 here. So, at least you want to catch a team like this. You want to catch them when they're hopefully not as strong as they've been. We'll see what happens tonight. Cavaliers had won 9 of their last 10 at home before they've lost 3 in a row. And these last 3, Cavs have lost them by 19 points. I'm not talking about 3 in a row, period. I'm talking about at home. Last 3 times that the Cleveland fans have come to see the Cavs play at the Q, they've watched the Cavs get beat by an average of nearly 20 points a game. Cavs gonna have their work cut out for them if they're gonna try to do something about that here tonight. 4-7 on the season against Western Conference teams are the Cavaliers. 19-16 overall. 11-8 at home. That one tips off at 7 o'clock tonight. Tomorrow, Eddie Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland. He'll be in the house to talk about this game with the Rockets, the trip coming up, the fallout of the Dion Waiters trade, and more. Looking forward to having Eddie Jansen with us tomorrow. Always a lot of fun when he's here. Mike Brandenberry, too, looking ahead to tomorrow from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. He'll be in the house. We'll talk to him about the latest things going on. Well, not just around the Indians. Not a whole lot going on. I'm going to talk to him a bit about the Hall of Fame balloting, what he thought, who was on his ballot this year. A lot of fun talk with Mike Brandenberry. And we'll see what the PSK's up to. I'm not positive if Kendall's going to be with us tomorrow or not, but we'll see if we can't get him in on the conversation. Speaking of guys with us, I know I said Doug Plagans. I just realized I didn't announce this at the beginning of the show. Voice of the Lake Erie Monsters, Doug Plagans, usually with us. He was going to be here today. Hit me up this morning. He is down with what, everybody's had this influenza, whatever you want to call it, that's going around, putting everybody down for about 7 to 10 days at a time. He's got it, and luckily for him, the Monsters don't have any games all week. So I said, hey, Doug, don't worry about it. He was going to do it. He was going to tough it out, rub some dirt on it. But I said, hey, tomorrow, relax. Friday, you got to get ready for the weekend. So Friday, Doug Plagans is going to join us before the Monsters tip things off here or drop the puck, whatever, this coming weekend. So Doug Plagans will be with us on Friday as well. A couple of other things wrapping things up today. UFC, you guys know I talk about Bones Jones, my man, always one of my favorite fighters. Not one of my favorite personalities off the competitive surface, but in the octagon, Jones can get it. You guys know I've been a a believer in Bones Jones for quite some time, since well before he debuted in the UFC, because I had some friends who were in the circles of the gyms out in Cali when he was training back in the day. And so I was lucky enough, fortunate enough to have some friends kind of hip me to Bones Jones well before he became anything. And he more than became what I had been told he was going to be. But he failed a test directly for cocaine, but it was for cocaine. It was for the metabolite that is in cocaine. It's the main thing. It's the only way you can test positive for this is to have done cocaine. But it wasn't a game day test. It was not the test that they give guys on the day of his fight. Of course, he just won that big fight not that long ago against Daniel Cormier, and so it will not affect that fight. It was actually a test that he was given randomly. Nevada's Athletic Commission does random out-of-competition tests, they're called. Back in the beginning of December, Jones tested positive for cocaine. Now, with UFC's rules and with the way it goes, out of competition, performance-enhancing drugs and recreational drugs are different. Out of competition, there is no set of penalties from the UFC for recreational drug use. So basically, that means that they're not. They go by the aspect of we are not our brother's keeper, and obviously a fight night test is completely different. That would have changed the decision of the fight and would have caused a different set of circumstances. Now, one of the questions a lot of people are asking is, how did Jones fail a test 30 days before his big fight and still be allowed to fight? And obviously that's something that Dana White will have to answer for with the UFC, but I'm kind of curious about that. I mean, UFC knew for weeks what was coming, but they didn't pull him from the fight. And hey, you know what? This is not fair. No, I don't even want to say fair because there's no being fair to UFC. The reason that they did it is strictly business, if we're being honest about it. But I'm not going to say that I would, if I was running a big company like that I wouldn't have thought of it the way they did, because that was one of their biggest fights they had a tough 2014. Every main fight that UFC was going to promote, somebody got hurt and they lost them all. They had their worst year at the box office since 2005, a decade. Worst year on pay-per-view. So this was the first big fight UFC had built up that was going to follow through and was going to draw big. And it's probably, I would guess, based on what I heard preliminary about buy rates, and it's real early. They don't have any idea, but this will probably finish in the top 5 to 8 UFC events of all time. So that's why. If you want to ask yourself, why didn't UFC do anything? That's why. They were not scrapping a well-built event that they've got all these resources in. I mean, there was the big fight on ESPN, and now obviously you could have redone the fight, but everything's built to peak at a certain time, and no guarantee business-wise that you can get that peak back. So while what I'm saying is not cool, like if you're being a human aspect, hey, well, why'd you let the guy fight when you knew you were going to suspend him? No, they didn't care, because all they cared about was getting that fight in the ring and making it happen. But they took some risks because you knew, hey, think about this. You knew for weeks. These are questions that I don't do. I don't interview Dana White, but these are questions I'd be peppering him with. Is what if your main eventer overdosed on cocaine in the week before the fight, because you now know that he's doing it, and you have proof that he's doing it, and you can't put him into rehab until after the fight. What if he OD'd? What if some crazy stuff had happened? I'm just saying, knowing that and not doing anything about it, boy, did you run the risk of it blowing up in your face. And now that people know afterwards, there'll still be some backlash, but it won't be anywhere near as bad as it would have been at the time. But that's why. Strictly business is why they didn't do anything about it. They wanted to make that money. So Dana White announced Jones is going into rehab. He's going to take care of his issues and whatever, however you want to describe it, and then they'll deal with the fight aspect. So it doesn't really change anything from him as far as being the champion and what his fight would. It doesn't change the decision in the fight that he had, but you can bet that there's going to be some questions to be faced by the UFC, as I said, about why they didn't do anything about that. And then it makes it very hard for you to stand in front of me as a fighter. I'm not their fighter, but you know what I mean. If I'm a fighter or a media person or a fan and say that you care about the well-being of your fighters, and I'm not saying that they have to. Hey, you're a cold-hearted son of a gun if you don't. But there's no rule that says you have to care about what's in the fighter's best interest. You could just be an evil, money-grubbing promoter. There's been thousands of those over the years in different sports, and there'll continue to be people like that. But that it makes it very hard to say that you care about the health of your fighters when, you said we're going to take the risk that he can continue to have a cocaine problem for 3 or 4 weeks until he has this fight, and then we'll get him some help. That's a dangerous precedent to set, because that tells me that's that same mentality now that we're doing the concussion testing and all of that. That's the whole, I don't care. I need to win this game and put him back out on the field, and then, again, could have went worse, didn't, but that doesn't mean that there shouldn't be some questions to be asked of Dana White and why that went down. And you know what? There will be. The MMA media is usually pretty good. Dana White's not exactly their favorite person, so I can bet he'll be getting hit with peppered with a lot of these questions. Whether he'll answer them or not, I don't know. But Bones Jones, for an undisclosed amount of time, he's going to be entering a rehab facility. Already there, UFC light heavyweight champion, and we'll talk more about that when there's more to talk about that too. Also, silly little thing I noticed on the way out, but I saw Bruce talk about this in the chat room earlier, and I was like, hey, man, that was already my go-home story today. Heisman Trophy from OJ recovered when OJ went on trial. It's not OJ's Heisman Trophy, by the way. That one is part of the settlement with the Goldman estate after the civil trial. But the day after OJ got charged or whatever in that process with everything that went down back in 94, somebody broke into USC and they stole right out of the trophy case. They stole his replica Heisman. They make 2 of them. They give one to the athlete and they give one to the school that they played for. And so the one that USC had and a jersey of OJ was stolen early then, way back in 94. It's been missing all these years, and apparently it's been recovered now, and I don't know if it's going to be returned to the university or whatever. Who cares? I mean, at this point, OJ's career's gone in a way that I don't think anybody's been that's not what you think of when you don't think of the missing Heisman when you think of OJ. There's a lot of other things that come first, but it makes you wonder, what's the story behind that? Let's see, 94, what's that, 21 years now that thing's been missing, and where's it been all that time? That's a man cave thing. I look around my studio here, I've got tons of cool Cleveland sports memorabilia and stuff like that. That's a centerpiece there, man. I wouldn't mind having the old OJ Heisman Trophy in the old display case, man. So somebody had a pretty cool conversation piece for the last 21 years before they came off of that one. So I'm just going to let you guys know, if any of you are out there in the habit of, not that I encourage this kind of thing, but if you somehow stumble across a truck that dropped an old Heisman Trophy or something, let me know. I may be in the market to buy that off of you. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Call it a day. Great show, as always. Well, I say that, and I always then stop myself and say it sounds so conceited, because I don't mean it like, hey, J-Rock, you did a great job. I mean, hey, we did a great job. I think we had a great show. So make sure you don't take it the wrong way. Thank you guys again for today, for being with us. Tomorrow, as I said, we'll see if the BSK is going to join us. Mike Brandenberry's in the house for sure. We'll do all the latest with Eddie Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland as we recap the Rockets and the Cavs tonight, and the Deion Waiters trade, J.R. Smith, and all of that and more coming your way tomorrow. Plus, B.J. Riddell joins us. We're going to do kind of a tying up loose ends from the fantasy football season. One more conversation with B.J. as well. So a lot of things coming your way tomorrow. We're past hump day now. We're moving down the week. Hump day is over, baby. And now we're heading all downhill from here. We'll see you tomorrow. Thursday edition of the Sports Fix Live. Same bad time and same bad channel. Noon Eastern. Right here on the Sports Fix. We love you, Cleveland and beyond. We'll see you tomorrow.
Don't sleep.